Welcome back to this special edition of Newsmakers. We just finished our discussion with House Speaker Mike Hubbard. And Max and I are now joined by Minority Leader Representative Craig Ford. Thank you for taking time to be with us today.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Max.
All right, so Representative Ford, first time your party has been in the minority in 136 years. What was it like being in that role this time around?
Well, you know, we felt like we stood up for the working class of the people of Alabama. We were upset with the handshake with Alabama that they came with, the 10-bill proposal. We're not sure who they shook hands with, but it wasn't with the working people of Alabama. So we think they shook hands with the rich. And instead of choosing to close corporate tax loopholes to fully fund our education trust fund budget and to fully fund Medicaid, they chose the side of big corporations, which we chose the side of the small business owners.
The Republican supermajorities passed legislation at a blistering pace. Democrats tried hard to delay bills and to kill them, but their efforts were thwarted by those Republican powers. Here are some of the key bills that passed this session and what both parties thought of the outcomes. Republicans aren't shy about touting their accomplishments.
If we stopped the session today, it would be the most successful and the most productive session in decades.
Democrats take issue with that claim. They say the GOP hurt itself when it pushed through measures that will force state workers and teachers to pay more into their retirement accounts.
This Republican supermajority has taken a direct aim at teachers and firefighters and public employees and school personnel, and I think on most instances they've hit their target.
Republican majorities were responsible for the passage of several controversial bills. They passed immigration reform, repealed the deferred retirement option for state employees, revamped the teacher tenure law, making it easier to fire teachers, created the rolling reserve budget plan for education, and gave tax breaks for small businesses and companies looking to move to Alabama.
Just one thing after another has been substantive conservative reform.
But Democrats felt strong-armed, unfairly treated by Republicans with their supermajorities in both chambers.
Because everything they introduced was against everybody that the Democrats had supported.
But Democrats, for the first time in more than 130 years, had no choice but to become essentially an observer.
Well, that's a very interesting perspective. The question that we've asked other Democrats that have been on this program, do you feel like you were fairly treated as a party during this legislative session?
Well, Bob, you know, being treated fairly is kind of a wide margin of a question, but I can tell you this, they clotured us more times than they ever have in the history of the legislature.
And for folks who don't know what cloture means,
it means cut off debate.
Right.
They would just cut off debate because they have a supermajority. A supermajority is dangerous, especially for the working class in Alabama, and especially for the state employees and the teachers and the firefighters and policemen. They chose to do away with the drop bill, which is an incentive to keep quality teachers in Alabama. They chose to increase the retirement for the teachers in the state. They also were trying to politicize the Teacher Retirement Systems Board and the Employment Retirement Board. So there's a lot of things that was attack on educators, that was attack on state employees that we were not for, and we fought as long as we could, and what they would do is when they had enough, they just cut us off.
Well, they said also that the drop program was too expensive to maintain.
I think it's almost not expensive enough to keep a quality teacher in the classroom. If they would choose to close a corporate tax loophole instead of siding with big business, we could continue the drop program in place. We wouldn't have had to ask our teachers that are below the southeastern pay to have to pay more out of their paycheck for their retirement, and it lowers the morale in the classroom.
We've heard you talk about these corporate tax loopholes all session, and your party was in the majority for a very long time. How come you didn't close those before this session, or was this just the Democrats' way of trying to fight back?
Well, no, we did, Max. Actually, we closed two in 2008, and we closed one in 2009. And since we didn't have a supermajority, they filibustered us, and so we didn't have a supermajority to cloture them or to cut off debate like they did us. So they kept us from closing these corporate tax loopholes year after year.
Well, now, do you, I was reading in between the lines, are you saying that the Republicans were targeting state employees and teachers to carry out their political aims?
I don't think it's any hidden secret that they were targeting. I think they had a bullseye on the back of their head. I think they were coming after teachers and state employees, and they did. They succeeded. House Bill 414 is going to pass tomorrow. We'll continue to fight the good fight in the Senate, but I guarantee it'll pass tomorrow. They came after the pension, their retirement, their health insurance, on and on and on. So when does it stop? I'm just, you know, I was asked earlier by a reporter, what do you think about the session ending tomorrow? And I said it's a victory for the working class because they can't affect them by any more legislation that's going to be passed the rest of the session.
Back in the fall, we had 4 Republicans switch from the Democratic Party to your party. Another one switched, Dan Bowman from Tuscaloosa. In the future, next legislative session, do you think the numbers are going to stay the same? Is your party going to pick up anybody else?
Absolutely. We're in contact with some other representatives that are unhappy with the way the majority has been going. We are looking for some more party people coming. We don't call them switching, we call them coming back to the side where they belong. Being able to vote the needs of their constituents. Representative Bowman made that switch, and his statement was, hey, I believe in people over party. They have a caucus position that they have to vote on caucus procedural motions, and if they vote against the caucus, then they can be reprimanded. We don't do that. We represent the mirror image of the state of Alabama, the Democrats. We have whites, blacks, men, women. They represent one species of white men. So, you know, we think we will have some more party switchers, a couple in the Senate and possibly 4 in the House.
We'll be back. We'll talk more with Representative Craig Ford after this short break. Welcome back to our program. We're talking with Representative Craig Ford, Minority Leader in the Alabama House. A bill that's stirred up quite a bit of controversy and may see some legal action afterwards is immigration. How do you feel about the bill that passed and was signed into law?
Bob, we are strongly opposed to the illegal immigration bill. I mean, it being unconstitutional. We are in favor of passing a bill that has to do with illegal immigration. We just want a bill that will be held up in the court of law. We don't want this bill overturned. It appears that once again they're passing another piece of legislation that's unconstitutional. We believe that illegal immigrants are taking jobs from Alabamians, so we're opposed to that. We did not want a watered-down version from BCA to put their input into this bill to be able to protect
the Business Council of Alabama.
The Business Council of Alabama, to protect the big corporations, and basically this bill is going to hurt the small business owner. We wanted it to be fair across the board, so yes, we do not want illegal immigrants in Alabama, just as the Republican Party doesn't want them also.
What would you have rather seen on the illegal immigration front?
Well, they did so many exclusions, and that's why the bill went from the Senate to the House to conference committee. They couldn't agree amongst themselves on what type of legislation they wanted. The Senator Beeson in the Senate, who is Republican, wanted a strong illegal immigration bill. So did the Democratic Party. The Republicans in the House chose to water it down, let BCA have their input, which basically is an unconstitutional bill with some of the language they put in it.
On teacher tenure reform, you said right after that bill passed, changing the teachers' tenure laws, that was the bill that was going to break the straw that broke the camel's back as far as Republican support.
Right, and that bill's been renamed the Fire at Will bill. So the Fire at Will bill, I think they'll hear about that again in 3 years. I think when they run for re-election in 2014, I think they'll be reminded that the Fire at Will bill could cost them some of their House legislative seats.
What do you think the justification for that bill was? Just to get rid of bad teachers, or do you think there was something else?
No, I think it all goes back to the Governor Riley days, with when Bradley Byrne was running for governor, and AEA sided with Dr. Governor Bentley. You know, and I think there's some personal issues there, and I'm not, you know, I don't know, but I know one thing. You know, if you hit educators on one issue and then you hit them on another one, when you hit them on 7 issues, something's going on.
Representative Ford, thank you for taking time to be with us. We certainly appreciate your insights. It's been a long session for the Democrats, and I know that you probably will spend the next 6 months getting ready for January for the next session, and we appreciate your taking time to be with us.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Max. Thanks.
And thanks to all of you for watching. That's it for this special edition of Newsmakers. Don't forget that Inside the Alabama Legislature is archived on WSFA.com. You can watch any of our episodes by just logging on to WSFA.com. You can check out our statewide Alabama politics blog, alabama.raycompolitics.com. And if interested in constant political updates, you can follow our Twitter, and that's our feed on Alabama Politics. Receiving more political updates, friend Alabama Politics on Facebook. Got all that, Max?
I got it all. It's a lot.
See you next week.